was released in 2022 and was directed by David Gordon Green. And in this movie, we get the final confrontation between Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, and we also get a deep study on what evil truly is. I have been waiting for this movie for the longest time. Ever since Kills came out, I was so excited for Halloween Ends. For those of you that don't know, Halloween is my favorite horror franchise of all time. I absolutely love Michael Myers. I love Laurie Strode. I love James Jude Courtney. I love me some Nick Castle. There you go. I actually met him last year. Sweet guy. Absolutely love him. He'll always be the shape for me. Although James Jude Courtney does give him a run for his money, especially after this movie and Kills in 2018. Great trilogy by him. I have so much to say. I'm going to try my best to not get into spoilers. I really am. I feel like I'm going to eventually get into it because this is a movie. I feel like you just have to talk spoilers. Like, you have to. I feel like in the positives, I don't really get too much into it, but I feel like once I get into my negatives, I kind of have to talk about spoilers. I just have to, because if you watch the trailer for this movie, you're very much in for a 180, because it is very much not like the trailer. Maybe that was a good thing, for the whole bait and switch thing. Maybe you don't like that. I don't know. But I'm going to give my thoughts on Halloween Ends. Well, starting off with the positives for Halloween Ends, I loved the concept of this movie. Now, I just finished this movie like 5 minutes ago, so maybe it hasn't sit in properly, but this is just immediately what I thought when I was watching this movie. This felt like something that Rob Zombie wanted to do. Now, for those of you that have watched both of Rob Zombie's Halloween movies, it always felt like he was trying to do a character study on what makes something evil. You saw the origins of Michael Myers, what makes Michael Myers Michael Myers, what made him snap, what made him certified evil, purely and simply evil. And then in Halloween 2, which I still don't really know what he was going for, there's a lot of metaphors, a lot of white horse stuff. I still don't know what that means. But you can tell Rob Zombie was trying to do something where he was trying to do a character study on evil, as if evil itself was a character. I will say, David Gordon Green and his writers, I feel like they accomplished what Rob Zombie couldn't. I think they did a better character study on what makes something, or someone in this case, evil. So I do appreciate the concept that they went for, because this is a very different Halloween movie. I'm about to tell you this right now. If you haven't seen this movie, be prepared. This is unlike any Halloween movie I have seen. The only thing that comes close to it, aside from Halloween 3, because that don't involve Michael Myers, I would say maybe Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, because Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 was something totally different. And this movie is kind of just like it in terms of like doing something so out of the ordinary, something that's so jarringly different that it really pops. So I do appreciate what David Gordon Green was going for, and I think for the most part they accomplished that. Corey Cunningham. He's a new character. I didn't expect this. I really didn't expect this type of character in this movie. When I saw Halloween Ends was coming out, I figured it was going to be kind of just a straightforward movie. But like I just said, they really went something totally different. And for the most part, I think about 95% of this character I liked. I actually really liked Corey Cunningham. Little spoilerish, but he basically is the main character of this movie. Like, you're spending most of your time with him and with Allison and with Laurie sprinkled in. And that's bold. That is bold because, Michael Myers is like on all your posters. I don't see a single Corey Cunningham poster in any movie theater. So you're really relying on this character landing for the audience and landing for you, because people are going into this movie and spending their hard-earned money expecting a Michael Myers movie. And it isn't. I mean, for the most part, it is a Michael Myers movie. I think that's unfair for me to say that's not a Michael Myers movie. It is a Myers movie, but it focuses more on Myers' impact on the community and what he can do. So I will say Corey Cunningham is a character that I did like, and I did like the execution of his arc. What I loved about his character, and like I said, this is about Myers' influence on his killings. Every movie that we've seen of Halloween, besides Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 and maybe the original Halloween 2 and H2O, you always it's always about survivors. Like, it's always about like, oh, let's look at the survivors of Michael Myers, and they always just try to move on with their lives. But I'm really surprised that we never saw a Halloween movie where we saw copycats, where we saw people who were influenced by him. That was actually very interesting. Again, I don't really want to, like I said, I'm very much getting into spoilers, so I am getting into spoilers here. But yes, Corey does get influenced by Michael Myers, and the whole thing is about a character like Corey Cunningham becoming what Michael Myers is, becoming the essence of evil, becoming purely and simply evil, becoming the shape. And I found that very interesting. Like I said, I love the concept, so I do appreciate that in Corey's eyes, what we're seeing in his life situation about this crossroads in his head of, okay, I like this character, Allison. I like her. I'm trying to go out with her, maybe change my life. But my mom absolutely sucks. And then I get bullied because of what happens in the opening scene. And for that, I will not spoil the opening scene for you. That I won't do that to y'all because you need to experience it like I did. It's just like, it's so complicated. Like, it's so crazy. I never thought I would go into a Halloween movie like questioning morality and like having deep thoughts, because most Halloween movies you just sit down and try to have a good time, and there are occasional morality questions. This one is like a pure morality question, and like how life is, how you should treat people, and like what makes something evil. So like I said, this is a character study on evil. Evil itself becomes a character in this movie. And of course, I have to talk about Laurie Strode, the character. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, this is your swan song. I would give you a standing ovation if the camera wouldn't cut my head off. But no, I absolutely loved Laurie in this movie. I think out of the three, this was the best of her that I saw in terms of 2018 kills and ends. I think this is the best of Laurie that we've gotten. In 2018, she was like just a freaking badass, just one woman army. Like, she can take down anybody she wanted. Kills, she was barely in the movie, so I can't really comment on that. She was more of like a evil dies tonight, like the motivator. But this was very much about, you know, her and how she's trying to move on. And I do appreciate that we get into H2O territory where she's trying to move on. There's some scenes where she's laughing and having a good time. But then you see people in her face saying, look, this is all your fault. Like, you don't deserve to be happy. You're trying to move on, you shouldn't. Look what Michael Myers did to me. Look what Michael Myers did to my family. And she just immediately, her depression and anxiety creeps in all over again. This is a movie that's about self-reflection, that's about forgiveness, about trying to move on. And I think Laurie is the perfect character for it. Laurie Strode is not just an important character in horror, but an important character in cinema. She is an iconic character that will go down as one of my favorite characters in movie history. So I just want to say thank you, Jamie Lee Curtis, for all that you did. I do love the character of Laurie Strode, and hopefully this is the last time we see her, and if it is, hey, I'm happy with it. One of the biggest problems I had with Halloween Kills, and I do love that movie, speaking of it, the dialogue was kind of cringe, you know, the whole evil dies tonight, a lot of stereotypical dialogue. I think Ends was I think it was better written. I think the lines were a lot better. I think they were delivered better. The acting was a lot better in this movie than in Halloween Kills. Kills was more dumb fun. You know, let me just sit down for 2 hours and just enjoy a lot of people getting killed. This, again, was way deeper. And I do appreciate David Gordon Green and his writers for making... I think this is a better written film than Kills. I still think 2018 overall is a better film. But I think this trumped Kills in terms of writing and delivery, so I gotta give Ends credit for that, for doing something where Kills failed. The character of Allison was also really good. I think this is the best she has been in all three of the movies, and, you know, in the 2018 one, she was kind of a standby character. You didn't get to see too much of her because focused so much on Laurie. In Kills, she's kind of more in the forefront because Laurie is, you know, hospitalized for most of the movie. This one, she and Laurie are like half and half on like who gets the most screen time, and I definitely think Allison takes center stage. You know, we're dealing with her trauma. Corey plays a big part of her life in this movie. She goes through a crossroads, and manifesting that physically into Corey's character was really good by the writers for Halloween Ends. So I think Allison had a really good character arc, and I think that Allison has become one of the better characters in the Halloween series. Okay, now to the mixed aspect of Halloween Ends. The people. I meant the citizens of Haddonfield and how they're reacting to Laurie Strode. Like I said, Laurie Strode will simply just be walking, smiling, and then people would be like, what you laughing at? Like, you're the reason this whole thing happened because you wouldn't leave Michael Myers alone. What? What the hell are you talking about? What do you mean she wouldn't leave Michael Myers alone? She literally was sitting in her house for like 20 years, just by herself, just whatever. If he comes for me, I'm prepared. I don't want to involve anybody. And then in Kills, everybody was coming to her saying, what should we do? What should we do? And she's like, okay, we'll fight. So I don't understand why people are saying this is all her fault. It makes no sense to me why you would blame Laurie Strode for any of this. Now, in the movie, they kind of touched upon it. There's a certain dialogue that is said about how one boogeyman is gone, they need to have a fall person. And in a way, Corey and Laurie fit that mold, hence why people start to hate them a lot more. So I will say I understand what they were going for, but to me, it just makes no sense why people would just go to Laurie and say this is all your fault when clearly it isn't. Now, while I give credit for David Gordon Green for making his movies and making them all different in terms of stylistic stuff, what I don't like is how different this movie is from 2018 and Kills, because when you watch 18 and Kills, it does feel like, yes, they're different movies, but they're so compatible. Like, you can watch them back to back and be like, okay, great. Like, you know, this clearly seems like it happened on the same night, and I can watch these no problem. But, like, Ends, because there's a time jump, and there is a time jump, it just is a completely different movie. Like I said, this is unlike any Halloween movie we have ever seen, and while the most part I like it, but it kind of bothers me how much it just kind of kills, pun intended, how much it kills the momentum that 18 and Kills did. While Kills had its problems, I personally loved Halloween Kills. So I feel like Ends just kind of stopped all the momentum and it was like, okay, let's just start over and kind of make our own new movie. Why? Why not just continue from Kills? Maybe do a year time jump, not 5-year time or 4-year time jump. So I kind of disagree with the time jump. I mean, I don't mind it, but I'm going to get into my negatives about why I had so much of a problem with the time jump itself. Alright, now for the negatives. And look, like I said, I tried not to get into spoilers, but I need to talk about the spoilers. This movie, it's like I said, oh my lord, there's just so much that happened in this movie, I have to talk about spoilers, so sorry. So now for the negatives. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this movie, go watch it, and then come back and watch this if you want. But yes, I am definitely getting into spoilers, so let's do this. My biggest problem with this movie is Michael Myers himself. Because of the time jump, he is completely treated like an afterthought, which blows my mind, because we're talking about somebody that is the embodiment of evil, that is purely and simply evil. One of the most, like, iconic characters in movie history, and he's not even a secondary character. He's not the first character, the secondary character. He's like the 5th character in this movie. Like, I'm being honest. That blew my mind. Like, the entire movie, from the trailers, from the posters, it was all marketed as the final showdown, the epic conclusion of Laurie versus Michael. And that's not what really this was. Again, I have no problem with that, but why did you market it that way? Because I know why. It's because you want to make money, and Michael Myers makes you money, so why not put him in the forefront? We're all here for Michael Myers. Look at this shirt. There's a reason why he's the biggest one in the picture, because we love Michael Myers. Instead of this being Laurie and Michael's last duel, it honestly felt more like Laurie's last stand, if that makes sense. Now look, I do like the final confrontation between Laurie and Michael. They only meet once in this movie, which, what the hell? Why? Why would you do that? The final battle at the end of the movie was great, but why is it at the end of the movie? You look at Halloween 2018, you look at Halloween H2O, those are final battles, adrenaline pumping, tension filled. I was so hooked, I was on the edge of my seat. But this, it was like, oh my god, like I was like, just get to the fight at this point. But they finally did, I was like, okay, great. But it was so short, and it was so short, but because Michael Myers was treated like such an afterthought, because they focused so much on Corey Cunningham, Michael's unfortunately casted aside. And look, as much as I like this Corey character, I will always, always, always prefer Michael Myers. He is a slasher icon, while Corey Cunningham probably won't go down as an icon. He'll just be like, oh yeah, Corey Cunningham, that character in Halloween Ends. That's unfortunately how it's going to go. It's one thing to make him a 5th or 6th character in this movie, but you made him look like a freaking chump. Like, you made him look like a loser. Like, that broke my heart. Yes, I somehow feel bad for a serial murderer that is purely and simply evil. But it's a 4-year time jump, and the dude's like, what, almost 70 at this point? I get it, but like, why is he so weak? Why? Like, you look at 2018 and Kills, this dude is mowing down people, no problem. Like, it's almost hilarious that this dude is in his 60s. But yet in this, he can barely stand. He's like struggling. You can hear his breath. He's like, it's like he's dying every day. I get it. In Kills, he got shot a lot. But the dude got shot and stabbed and he got up no problem. And then he killed Karen. So like, I just don't understand why all of a sudden he's just like this weak person that can like barely control himself. He's just like, like, that's not the Michael Myers that I know of, and it was a kind of a pitiful way to end that character. I can understand what they were going for, because in the movie, Corey and Michael kind of team up in a way. It's like Michael kind of mentors him, which is weird, but you see that Corey gets Michael his first kill. Like, he delivers somebody for him, and Michael gets that kill. And then you see Michael just like, he's like shaking. It's like the sensation of it is coming back to him. And I think it was said in Kills that the more he kills, the stronger he gets. So you can see that he gets stronger throughout the movie, but it just broke my heart that it took Corey to help him. Nobody helps Michael Myers. Michael Myers don't need help, okay? He's Michael freaking Myers, okay? The dude is a tank. The dude got shot at and was still walking like it was no problem. He don't need this boy's help. So like I was saying, Corey and Michael become like pals in this movie. like it's some kind of Karate Kid situation where Myers becomes like the Mr. Miyagi for him. He's like, stab on, stab off, stab on, stab off. And like, Corey becomes like, Corey's at a crossroads in this movie because at one point he's like, okay, I want to leave Haddonfield with Allison and start anew. But then he's like, but like I have super serial killer tendencies and I found Michael Myers and he let me live. So now I'm going to become like him and I'm going to break him out and we're going to start killing people one by one because I love it. I'm starting to get crazy. All right. Wow. That's a lot to take in. So it's like, I just don't like Michael Myers becoming a mentor. Like that's not, it's starting to like my mind is broken right now. I can't even come up with a proper sentence for this. Like Michael Myers being a mentor, and I get it. Look, and there was a point at the end of the movie where, you know, something happens to Corey, and like Myers kind of turns on him because Myers don't need nobody. But like, come on, like he was clearly needing Corey the entire movie, and like, why would you treat Michael Myers like that? Like the biggest cardinal sin was there was a point in the movie where Corey goes back into the tunnel and fights Michael Myers and like takes him down and steals his mask saying, you're just a dude in a Halloween costume, and then leaves. And Michael just lays there. Yeah, he does his sit-up, but like he straight up manhandled Michael Myers and took his mask. That is unforgivable. That scene right there was the one that just broke me. I was like, okay, look, I like all these scenes. That scene, unforgivable. That did not need to be in it at all. I hated that scene so much. Like, Corey got his own mask in the movie. Like, when he went to a Halloween party, he had his own clown-looking mask that was very similar to Rob Zombie's Halloween mask, the one that young Michael had. Why not use that one? He used it in multiple killings, so why would you take Michael's mask? It just made him trying to be like a copycat Michael Myers when they could have made him his own thing. And while I loved Corey's character arc, I hated the way it ended because it was so abrupt. Like, it made no sense. He was going on this trajectory, and like, boom. Ends immediately. Laurie finds out that like he's like there's something off about him, okay? And like he's fully dressed up like Michael Myers. He's trying to kill Laurie, and Laurie finds out, and he's like, and she's like, look, you think you're gonna take Allison away from me? Like, no, this ain't gonna happen. And he's like, if I can't have her, no one will. Then he stabs himself, but he frames it in a way to where it looks like Laurie stabbed him. So like it's like his final act where like he's going to like frame her for his death, and that way Allison will forever leave Haddonfield and leave Laurie sad alone forever. It's so abrupt. Like, it made no sense. Like, it never really felt like Corey and Laurie were supposed to have this clash. It felt like Allison and Corey were supposed to have this big clash at the end. What I think they should have done is have Corey fully become, like, this Michael Myers type character, and then while Laurie is fighting Michael for the most part, you have Allison fight Corey. That way they both deal with their traumas in their own way. I think it would have been very powerful to have two separate slasher scenes where they're both being hunted by killers and they end up overcoming the odds and like, you know, overcoming their trauma and moving on. But the ending of Corey Cunningham's role in this was so abrupt, and I was like, well, all right, so what was the point of anything? I do like his character for the most part, but that just kind of ruined it. And plus, you don't know what Corey's motivation is. Like, at one point, he's like, okay, I love Allison, let's go to Haddonfield. But then he's like, okay, but, like, I want to be with Michael Myers. So it's like, what do you want? Like, you can't take Michael Myers with you on a road trip to California with Allison. That's not how this works, Corey. I will say, though, the ending scene was very poetic. Like, everything, like, Michael Myers is dead. Yes, spoilers, Michael Myers dies in a very poetic way, and then like they just straight up like he's not dead enough, and they just crush him up in a grinder. But the ending scene where Laurie is by herself with, you know, with the detective, and she's just reminiscing, and then it cuts to all the different locations in the house, kind of like 1978's Halloween, but you don't hear heavy breathing. It's just birds chirping, and it's quiet. Like that, wow, that sent chills down my spine. It was a very poetic way to end this this trilogy in a very poetic way to end Laurie Strode's character. So I thought that was very nice, and it ended the movie in a good way that it left a good taste in my mouth. Overall, guys, this is a very interesting movie. Like, I feel like I have to sit on this for like 3-4 more days to finally give a true opinion, but like as of now, as the movie ended, I'm gonna give it a B. Like, I don't hate this movie. Like, when I saw the reviews that were coming out, people either said, like, you were gonna hate this movie, or people said, this is a great movie. So it's like a Halloween film, basically. But I honestly didn't hate this movie. Like, I tried to see if I would hate it. I really wanted to love this movie as much as I did 2018, but it doesn't match up to 2018, and I'm gonna come out with a ranking of these movies soon. I don't hate this movie. I actually really liked it. It was something different. It was something fresh, and I appreciated it. But what I don't like is how this is supposed to be Laurie and Michael's final confrontation, but you kind of did a bait and switch, and not a good bait and switch. If you wanted to do the Corey Cunningham stuff, you kind of should have done that in Kills. That way, it sets up ends where it's finally Laurie and Michael one-on-one. But they just did something totally different. And again, I appreciate what they did, but I just would have gone a slightly different route. But again, I don't hate this movie. I do think the ending was very poetic for Laurie and Michael, so I can't truly hate this film. But like I said, I'm going to have to sit on this a couple of days to see where this movie truly lies with me. And you'll find out where it does lie with me when I come out with my rankings. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.